Black actress wins prestigious award wearing unknown designer's creation, leaving racist fashion icon stunned as industry transforms. The Manhattan atelier of Marceline Bennett glittered like a jewel box, its pristine white walls adorned with framed photographs of celebrities wearing her creations on red carpets around the world. A chandelier of hand-blown Venetian glass cast rainbow prisms across the showroom floor, where mannequins displayed gowns worth more than many people's annual salaries. This sanctuary of haute couture, nestled in a converted loft on the 27th floor of a Tribeca building, was where dreams were sewn into reality, for some. Zara Johnson's face smiled from the cover of this month's Vanity Fair, the headline proclaiming her Hollywood's most authentic new voice. At 30, she had finally achieved the breakthrough that had eluded her through a decade of supporting roles and near misses. Her portrayal of civil rights activist Diane Nash in Unfinished Revolution had earned her critical acclaim, a devoted fan following, and now a Best Actress nomination at the prestigious Cinema Excellence Awards. Unlike many who found sudden fame, Zara hadn't abandoned her principles on the climb up. She remained an outspoken advocate for diversity, regularly using her growing platform to challenge the entertainment industry's persistent inequities. Her authenticity had made her beloved by fans, but had also marked her as controversial in certain industry circles still uncomfortable with outspoken black women. In her corner office overlooking the Hudson River, Marceline Bennett studied Zara's magazine cover with narrowed eyes. At 55, Marceline had built her empire through ruthless perfectionism and an unyielding vision of beauty that hadn't evolved significantly since the 1990s. Her sleek silver bob and perpetual black attire had become as much a signature as the architectural precision of her designs. For 3 decades, her creations had adorned the bodies of Hollywood royalty, carefully selected to maintain what she called the Marceline aesthetic. She certainly has a presence, Marceline acknowledged reluctantly, setting down the magazine. But she's not MB material. The proportions would be all wrong. She didn't need to elaborate further to her silent assistant. They both understood what not MB material meant in the coded language of high fashion. 3 blocks away, in the bustling office of Elevated Style Management, Maya Chen ended another frustrating phone call. As Zara's stylist for the past 3 years, Maya had navigated the treacherous waters of fashion's elite on behalf of her rising star client. Award season was her Super Bowl, Olympics, and World Cup combined, especially this year, with Zara's nomination creating unprecedented opportunities. That's the 3rd rejection from Marceline's team this week, Maya informed Zara, who sat reviewing script notes on the office sofa. They're claiming aesthetic incompatibility and scheduling constraints. Zara looked up, her expression more resigned than surprised. What does aesthetic incompatibility even mean? It means they don't want to dress a black woman with curves, Maya replied bluntly, her frustration evident. Which is ridiculous because your measurements are literally sample size. Zara nodded, absorbing the information with practiced composure. This wasn't her first experience with rejection coded in palatable language. What about Valentino, Dior? Both confirmed this morning. They're sending sketches by Friday, Maya assured her. Plenty of designers recognize what a moment this is. What Maya didn't mention was the text she'd received from a former colleague now working at Marceline Bennett. The message had been clear and disturbing. MB explicitly said her designs aren't meant for Zara's type and doesn't want the brand associated with her. Meanwhile, she's creating custom pieces for Emma Hayes, Lily Reinhart, and Sophie Dean for the same event. All 3 were white actresses with smaller roles in Unfinished Revolution. None were nominated. That evening, As Zara reviewed the growing list of designers eager to dress her for her career-defining moment, she couldn't shake the sting of Marceline's rejection. It wasn't about the lack of options. She would be beautifully dressed regardless. It was the familiar feeling of being deemed unsuitable, unworthy, or unwelcome despite her accomplishments. The sense that no matter how high she climbed, certain doors would remain closed based on factors she couldn't change, nor should she want to. As a child performing in community theater in Chicago, she had dreamed of moments like this: the nominations, the magazine covers, the chance to inspire others who looked like her. She hadn't anticipated how achievement would bring its own unique form of discrimination, more subtle but no less real than what she'd faced on her way up. With the ceremony only 6 weeks away, Zara faced a choice that went beyond selecting a gown. She could publicly call out Marceline's discrimination, potentially creating controversy that would overshadow her professional achievement. She could quietly accept the rejection, preserving peace, but allowing the pattern to continue unchallenged. Or she could find another path, one that might transform rejection into something more powerful than mere acceptance ever could be. "They're now claiming their atelier is fully booked through March," Maya reported, scrolling through the email on her tablet. Which is interesting, considering they just confirmed they're creating something for Sophie Dean last week. She looked up at Zara, who was reviewing photographs from her recent press tour. "That's the 4th excuse in 10 days. Zara nodded, unsurprised but still stung. The rejections from Marceline Bennett's team had evolved from polite deflections to increasingly transparent excuses. First it had been aesthetic incompatibility, then scheduling conflicts. Now, suddenly, their entire production calendar was supposedly full, though apparently not too full for certain other actresses. "Sophie texted me yesterday," Zara said quietly. "She's excited about her first MB original. Said Marceline is also designing for Emma and Lily for the awards." She set down the photos, her expression carefully neutral. "All 3 of them from our film. None nominated." The message was unmistakable. It wasn't about Marceline's busy schedule or aesthetic concerns. It was about who Marceline Bennett wanted representing her brand, and who she didn't. Later that afternoon, Zara's phone buzzed with a message from Trevor Kim, a fashion editor she'd befriended during press for her last film. "Check your email. You need to see this." The forwarded email had been sent from Marceline's personal account to her head of public relations and lead designer. Its contents were blunt. "While ZJ has a certain profile at the moment, her body type would require significant alterations to our silhouettes. More concerning are her political statements. She's been quite vocal about industry practices, and that alignment could dilute what we've built. The coloring would also be challenging with our planned palette. Let's focus on safer options who better embody the MB aesthetic." Zara stared at the screen, the familiar hurt crystallizing into something harder and colder. The body type excuse was particularly galling. At a size 4, she wore sample sizes without alterations. The coloring comment needed no interpretation, and apparently speaking up for diversity made her too controversial for a luxury brand. In 2023, within hours, fashion blogs caught wind of the situation. Designer drama. "Is Marceline Bennett snubbing award nominee Zara Johnson?" headlined Fashion Insider. Social media ignited with speculation, support, and the inevitable backlash, some defending Zara, others suggesting she was playing the race card over a simple design choice. The public scrutiny brought back memories Zara had tried to suppress. The casting director who had told her agent she was too ethnic for a lead role but perfect for the sassy best friend. The beauty contracts that went to lighter-skinned actresses. The magazine covers where her features were subtly altered and her skin digitally lightened. "This isn't just about a dress," Claudette Wilson told her over lunch. The 70-year-old costume designer had worked in Hollywood since the 1970s, witnessing the industry's glacial progress firsthand. Marceline has always been selective about who wears her designs. The difference is she usually manages to keep her criteria private. Claudette stirred her tea thoughtfully. In my day, the exclusion was even more blatant. At least now they try to hide it behind excuses. The question is, do you want to call it out publicly? There's always a cost to being the one who speaks uncomfortable truths. That evening, alone in her apartment, Zara weighed her options. A public statement would likely create a media firestorm that would overshadow her nomination and the film itself. The narrative would shift from her artistry to a fashion industry dispute. Yet remaining silent felt like accepting treatment that she had promised herself she would no longer tolerate. "What would you do?" she asked her reflection in the bedroom mirror, wondering which choice would allow her to face herself with pride the morning after the ceremony. The rejection from Marceline Bennett wasn't an isolated incident, but another milestone on a journey marked by similar barriers. As Zara scrolled through old photographs on her laptop that night, she reflected on the path that had led her to this pivotal moment. There she was at 8 years old, performing in a community theater production of Annie in South Side Chicago. Not as the title character, which she had desperately wanted, but in the orphan ensemble. Even then, she had understood without being told that certain roles weren't meant for girls who looked like her, regardless of talent. Growing up, her role models had been limited, the rare black actresses who managed to break through Hollywood's barriers in the 1990s and early 2000s. She had studied their interviews, noting how carefully they chose their words when discussing industry challenges, how they balanced honesty with palatability to avoid being labeled difficult. After graduating from drama school, Zara had encountered the familiar pattern of typecasting. Audition feedback often included coded language. Urban character needed more refinement. Not quite the look we're going for. Not sure she's relatable to our core audience. One casting director had been more direct. You're talented, but not commercially viable as a lead. I'd focus on supporting roles if I were you. For years, she had taken whatever roles she could get. The sassy friend, the struggling single mother, the tough cop with 3 lines, while watching mediocre white actresses ascend to leading roles. She had straightened her hair, lost weight, lightened her skin tone with makeup, and modulated her voice to increase her chances. Each compromise had taken something from her, small pieces of authenticity sacrificed on the altar of opportunity. Her breakthrough had come unexpectedly when acclaimed black director Marcus Washington had insisted on her for the role of civil rights activist Diane Nash in Unfinished Revolution, despite studio pressure to cast a more established name. "I'm tired of pretending that excellence only comes in one shade," he had told executives. "Zara has everything this role needs, and I won't compromise on that." The film's success had vindicated his choice, but new challenges had emerged with visibility. Fashion magazines had digitally lightened her skin on covers, despite her explicit requests. Makeup artists still arrived to photo shoots without foundation that matched her complexion. Interviewers asked her about diversity issues rather than her craft, as though her blackness was her primary contribution to cinema. Through it all, Zara had committed to using her platform responsibly. She spoke about representation not just as a personal grievance, but as an industry-wide failing that limited art and culture. She had established a mentorship program for young actresses of color and funded a scholarship for technical theater, training, understanding that change required more than just visible faces but also diverse voices behind the scenes. The Cinema Excellence Awards represented more than professional validation. If she won, she would be only the fourth black woman to receive the Best Actress honor in the ceremony's 72-year history. Her presence on that stage, what she wore, what she said, how she carried herself, would be scrutinized and immortalized, potentially inspiring another generation of girls who rarely saw themselves in such moments of triumph. In this context, the Marceline Bennett rejection transcended personal insult. It was another manifestation of the system she had been fighting throughout her career. The arbitrary standards, the causal exclusion, the message that certain spaces weren't meant for people like her, regardless of their achievements or abilities. The Cinema Excellence Awards transformed the iconic Lincoln Center into a cathedral of glamour, its plaza awash in the glow of spotlights and camera flashes. A river of black limousines disgorged their famous cargo onto the red carpet, where entertainment journalists stood 3 deep behind velvet ropes, broadcasting every arrival to a global audience hungry for fashion and celebrity. Zara sat quietly in her limousine as it joined the queue, her hand resting lightly on the midnight blue fabric of Jordan's creation. Hours of preparation had transformed her into a vision of elegance, but it was the dress that would make history tonight. Her stylist Maya checked her watch and squeezed Zara's other hand. Ready? The E commentators are already speculating about what you're wearing. Zara nodded, a calm certainty having replaced her earlier anxiety. Ready. When her car door opened, revealing her to the waiting photographers, there was a moment of stunned silence before the crowd erupted. The gown was a masterpiece, its deep blue silk cascading like midnight water, intricate beadwork catching the light with every movement. The silhouette honored her figure perfectly, the structured bodice transitioning to a flowing skirt with a subtle train. Unlike anything on the red carpet that evening, it somehow evoked both timeless Hollywood, glamour and bold cultural pride. "Zara, who are you wearing?" shouted a reporter as she paused for photographs, the question every actress expected at such events. "Jordan Reynolds," Zara answered with pride, her voice carrying clearly to nearby microphones. "An independent designer based in Brooklyn." The name created a momentary confusion among the fashion commentators who had been prepared to identify creations from the usual roster of famous design houses. Within minutes, however, social media exploded with images of Zara in the extraordinary gown, viewers demanding to know more about this unknown designer who had created the night's most talked-about look. Kelly Rodriguez, hosting E!'s red carpet coverage, recovered quickly. "We're seeing Zara Johnson in what appears to be the statement look of the night, wearing designer Jordan Reynolds. My producer is telling me he's an independent black designer who hasn't previously dressed celebrities for major award shows. What a debut!" As Zara moved along the carpet, stopping for interviews, the buzz intensified. Fashion editors frantically searched for information about Jordan, while celebrities and stylists whispered among themselves, watching Zara command attention not through brand name recognition, but through pure artistic excellence. Near the entrance to the theater, Zara glimpsed Marceline Bennett, standing with Sophie Dean, who wore one of Marceline's typical creations. Beautiful but safe, designed to complement the brand, rather than the wearer. Marceline's expression froze as she watched Zara approach, the designer's practiced smile faltering as she registered both the extraordinary beauty of Jordan's design and the unmistakable public response to it. In each interview, without directly mentioning the rejection, Zara spoke eloquently about supporting diverse talent and the importance of creating opportunities rather than waiting for them to be offered. Jordan Reynolds represents a new generation of designers whose voices enrich the fashion landscape, she told an entertainment reporter. I'm honored to showcase his extraordinary talent tonight." Meanwhile, in his modest Brooklyn apartment, Jordan watched the coverage with friends, his phone buzzing incessantly with notifications. Prominent stylists, celebrities, and even competing design houses were flooding his social media accounts with follows and messages. What had been a quiet career marked by struggle and overlooked talent was transforming in real time into something entirely new. The cameras followed Zara's progress, capturing the genuine reactions of admiration from other celebrities. "That dress is everything," murmured Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o to her stylist, loudly enough to be caught on nearby microphones. "Find out who this Jordan is. I want to work with him." The red carpet, typically a showcase for established design houses, had suddenly become the stage for a powerful statement about who dictates beauty and who deserves recognition. Inside the ornate theater, tension mounted as the ceremony progressed toward the Best Actress category. Zara sat with perfect posture, the beadwork of her gown catching the light each time the camera found her among the audience. Brief flashbacks to pivotal moments in her journey flashed through her mind, the childhood performances where she was relegated to the background, the early auditions where she was told she wasn't the right fit, the countless small indignities and exclusions that had tested her resolve throughout her career. When the previous year's Best Actor winner took the stage to present her category, Zara's heartbeat quickened. The odds makers had favored her closest competitor, a beloved veteran actress who had never won despite 5 previous nominations. Zara had prepared herself for either outcome, knowing that the nomination itself represented a victory for an actress who had been told repeatedly that leading roles weren't for her. And the Cinema Excellence Award for Best Actress goes to Zara Johnson for Unfinished Revolution. The theater erupted in genuine appreciation as Zara rose, momentarily stunned despite her preparations. The path to the stage seemed simultaneously endless and instantaneous, congratulatory hands reaching for hers as she passed. As she ascended the steps, the full impact of Jordan's creation became even more apparent, a vision of elegance and cultural pride, standing in stark contrast to the conventional looks that typically dominated such moments. With the golden statuette in her hands, Zara faced the audience, her composure intact despite the emotion of the moment. "This award honors not just my work, but the legacy of Diane Nash and countless other civil rights pioneers whose courage created possibilities for all of us," she began. Her thoughtful speech acknowledged her director, co-stars, and the historical figures portrayed in the film. Then, with deliberate intention, she added, "I want to thank Jordan Reynolds, whose artistic vision created this gown that makes me feel both beautiful and authentically seen." True inclusion isn't just about who stands on stages like this. It's about who gets to create, who gets to define beauty, who gets opportunities to share their gifts with the world. Without naming Marceline, or directly referencing the rejection, she had addressed the underlying issues with dignity and purpose. "I'm grateful to everyone who recognizes that excellence comes in many forms and from many backgrounds. Our industries are richer when we embrace the full spectrum of human creativity." The camera caught Marceline's tense expression among the audience, the designer's discomfort evident as whispers spread among those nearby. The narrative of exclusion and subsequent triumph was becoming clear to industry insiders, even without explicit mention. Later in the ceremony came an unexpected moment. The presenter for the Fashion Innovation Award, an industry honor recognizing contribution to the field, took the stage. This award, typically given to established houses for technical achievements, rarely generated much interest outside fashion. Circles. The Fashion Innovation Award recognizes those who push boundaries and expand our conception of what fashion can be, the presenter explained. This year's recipient has created a design that honors both African cultural heritage and Hollywood glamour, demonstrating exceptional craftsmanship and visionary aesthetics. The award goes to Jordan Reynolds. A collective gasp rippled through the audience. This honor, determined by a panel of industry experts who had been captivated by his design for Zara, represented a major shift in recognition. The camera's quick cut to Marceline's face captured her complete shock, mouth slightly open, color draining from her cheeks as she processed the implications. Jordan, watching from his apartment, stared at the screen in disbelief as his name was announced. The friends surrounding him erupted in celebration while he sat momentarily frozen, witnessing the validation of years of overlooked work. The award would be formally presented at a fashion industry event the following week, but the announcement itself, on this platform, in this context, was the true watershed moment. In the space of a single evening, the carefully maintained hierarchy of the fashion world had been dramatically disrupted. As the ceremony concluded, Zara stood backstage with her award, surrounded by well-wishers and interview requests. Her triumph was complete, not just the acting honor, but the larger victory of transforming rejection into a moment of cultural significance that extended far beyond her individual recognition. She had not defeated Marceline through confrontation or public call-out. Instead, she had rendered her irrelevant by championing excellence that the designer had been too blinded by prejudice to recognize. In doing so, she had helped create space for a new generation of talent that the industry could no longer afford to ignore. The morning after the ceremony, Zara's image dominated fashion publications and social media worldwide. Vogue featured her on their digital cover with the headline, "A Star-Making Moment, How Zara Johnson and Jordan Reynolds Changed the Conversation." Women's Wear Daily published an in-depth analysis of the gown's construction and cultural significance. The hashtag for Zara and Jordan traded globally, with users sharing side-by-side comparisons of her look against the more conventional Marceline Bennett designs worn by other actresses. "My phone hasn't stopped ringing," Jordan told Zara during their celebratory lunch. 3 major retailers want to discuss exclusive collections. Celebrity stylists who wouldn't return my emails last month are suddenly desperate to work with me. Zara smiled, genuinely delighted by his success. "Mine too. But the most meaningful calls have been from young actresses of color saying they felt seen in a new way." The ripple effects extended well beyond their immediate circle. Valentino offered Jordan a guest designer collaboration. Prada expressed interest in Zara for their next campaign. IMG Models approached Jordan about representing him for business development. The power dynamics had shifted dramatically in the space of 24 hours. Meanwhile, Marceline Bennett's publicity team scrambled to manage the fallout. After a strategic delay, they released a carefully worded statement. Marceline Bennett celebrates all forms of artistic expression and has always supported diverse talent throughout her career. We regret any miscommunications regarding Ms. Johnson and deeply admire her achievement. Our design house remains committed to inclusivity in fashion. The apology rang hollow to industry insiders who had long observed Marceline's selective approach to dressing celebrities. Several former employees anonymously shared stories with fashion blogs about the designer's explicit instructions regarding which body types and skin tones would properly showcase her designs. A former stylist revealed that Marceline had once canceled a cover shoot upon learning that a black actress had been selected instead of the white actress she had expected. These revelations sparked broader Conversations about diversity in fashion that extended beyond a single designer or incident. Major publications began examining their own coverage patterns and hiring practices. Casting directors for runway shows faced new scrutiny about their selection processes. Design houses rushed to showcase their commitment to inclusion, some genuinely, and others transparently performative. For Jordan, the validation transformed his professional prospects overnight. With funding from a luxury conglomerate interested in nurturing diverse talent, he expanded his atelier from a one-room studio to a proper design house. Celebrities who had never heard his name a week earlier now requested his creations for premieres and galas. His first official runway show was scheduled for New York Fashion Week, with unprecedented interest from buyers and press. Zara used her enlarged platform methodically, highlighting the work of other overlooked designers from underrepresented groups. During press for Unfinished Revolution, she deliberately wore creations by emerging designers of color, generating valuable exposure for their work. Her Instagram became a showcase for talent that mainstream fashion had ignored, each post bringing thousands of new followers to designers who had struggled for recognition. Even the industry's gatekeepers began to shift. Fashion magazines that had relied on a narrow definition of beauty started diversifying their cover models. Editorials featured designers from a wider range of backgrounds. One prominent editor-in-chief admitted in an essay that the industry has been creatively impoverished by its own exclusionary practices. Young designers of color spoke about the symbolic importance of the moment. Seeing Jordan go from overlooked to celebrated overnight gave me hope that excellence can eventually triumph, said one design student in an interview. It makes me believe there might actually be space for my vision too. While Zara and Jordan flourished, Marceline's brand faced unexpected challenges. Celebrities became increasingly conscious of aligning with designers who genuinely embraced inclusion rather than merely claiming it. Several high-profile clients quietly moved to other design houses for major events. Her fall collection received muted coverage, overshadowed by designers offering fresh perspectives. In a final validation of its cultural significance, the Costume Institute at the Metropolitan Museum acquired Jordan's creation for Zara for its permanent collection. The curator's statement noted that the gown represented not just exceptional craftsmanship, but a pivotal moment in fashion history when excellence transcended established power structures. 6 months after the award ceremony, Zara and Jordan stood on a stage at the Fashion Institute of Technology, surrounded by 10 beaming young designers, the first cohort of their New Perspectives mentorship program. Each mentee had presented work that fused personal cultural heritage with contemporary design, creating collections that expanded the visual language of fashion. When we conceived this program, Zara explained to the audience of industry professionals and press, we wanted to address the root causes of exclusion in fashion. Talent exists everywhere, but opportunity and mentorship remain concentrated in the hands of too few. The program provided not just technical training but the crucial industry connections and showcasing opportunities that had been denied to Jordan for years. Each mentee received financial support, materials, and, most significantly, direct access to decision-makers who could advance their careers. Major retailers had committed to featuring selections from these emerging designers, creating real, commercial opportunities beyond mere exposure. The industry response was overwhelmingly positive. Vogue did an 8-page spread featuring the mentees and their work. 3 received offers from major fashion houses seeking to diversify their design teams. 1 was commissioned to create costumes for an upcoming Broadway production. What had begun as a response to exclusion, had evolved into a powerful incubator for talent that the industry could no longer pretend not to see. Marceline Bennett, recognizing the changing tide, attempted to rebrand herself as an advocate for diversity. Her initial efforts, Instagram posts featuring models of color and public statements about inclusion, were met with significant skepticism. Fashion bloggers called out the disconnection between her sudden awakening and her decades of exclusionary practices. Facing a genuine threat to her relevance and legacy, Marceline eventually took more substantive steps. She hired two talented designers of color, Raul Diaz and Aisha Okafor, and gave them actual creative control over a capsule collection. Their fresh perspectives infused new life into her somewhat stagnant aesthetic, earning critical praise and commercial success that benefited all involved. Across the industry, similar transformations were unfolding. Design houses that had maintained homogeneous creative teams for decades began actively recruiting diverse talent, recognizing both the moral imperative and business advantage of broader perspectives. Fashion schools strengthened their outreach to underrepresented communities. Major awards introduced new categories specifically highlighting innovative designers from diverse backgrounds. I never imagined that rejection would lead to something so transformative, Zara confided to Jordan during the reception following their mentees' showcase. I was just trying to find a dress for one night. That's how change works sometimes, Jordan replied. One meaningful choice leads to another, and suddenly you're creating ripples you never anticipated. His own design house had become known for both exceptional craftsmanship and inclusive vision. While maintaining the distinctive aesthetic that had first caught Zara's attention, he had expanded his range to challenge conventional definitions of luxury and beauty. His runway shows featured models of diverse body types, ages, and backgrounds, not as tokenism, but as an authentic expression of his vision of fashion as a universal language. The impact extended beyond established industry figures to the next generation. Young aspiring actresses and designers of color frequently approached Zara at events, sharing how her moment of triumph had inspired them to pursue their dreams, despite obstacles. Seeing you win while being so unapologetically yourself made me believe I could do it too, one drama student told her after a panel discussion. As Zara prepared for the premiere of her latest film, a psychological thriller that further expanded her range beyond the roles she had once been told she couldn't play, she was surrounded by a diverse team of creative professionals. Her makeup artist, hairstylist, stylist, and publicist reflected her commitment to creating opportunities at every level of the industry. For the premiere, she wore another Jordan creation, this time as the official face of his newly launched luxury line, available to women of all backgrounds and body types. The relationship that had begun in a moment of rejection had evolved into a powerful creative partnership that benefited both while creating space for others to follow. The story's final image captured Zara and Jordan greeting a group of young design students from diverse backgrounds touring his atelier. As the students examined fabrics and sketches with wide-eyed enthusiasm, asking questions about techniques and inspiration, the full circle of their journey became clear. Their individual triumph had become something much more significant, a doorway through which a new generation could walk with greater ease and confidence. The narrative of exclusion that had defined so much of the fashion and entertainment industries for so long was being rewritten, not through a single moment, but through the accumulation of different choices, different values, different visions of excellence. While individual success mattered, the true victory lay in transforming systems to create opportunity for those who would follow, ensuring that talent, rather than arbitrary standards of acceptability, would determine who got to shape cultural narratives and definitions of beauty. As the students gathered around a design table, eagerly sharing their ideas with newfound confidence, the message was clear. The most powerful response to exclusion isn't gaining entry to spaces that once rejected you. It's creating new spaces where everyone's gifts can flourish.